Oh dear. All right. Well, we're delighted to be asked to share a few thoughts this afternoon. We know your time is valuable, and we just had a beautiful lunch. And it's very difficult to do a presentation after everyone's eaten such a nice meal. Wonderful, thank you. But we will try our best. This afternoon, we want to talk a little bit about, and you see the word up there, Rob, don't you? Cherish. Yeah. It's at times like these we have to encourage, the speaker has to encourage people not to look to their right or to their left. Just look straight forward. So, anyway, I think those are going to be here are going to be here. So why don't we pray together, and we'll dig in and spend some time together. Should be fun. Enjoy it. Looking forward to it. Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you so much for the blessings of the Sabbath, and we're grateful for the good meal we had, the kind heart's hands that prepared it. We're here to learn, to discover, reaffirm principles that make a marriage healthy. And I pray that you will bless our time together, and may this be an encouragement to each one of us today. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, come on up, darling. Join me. I'm not doing this alone. Takes two. As a pastor, I have the privilege of marrying people. So let me share with you briefly some words from the traditional marriage vows. So it may sound a bit familiar to some of you, but it says something like this: "And now solemnly promising before God and in the presence of these witnesses, will you, so-and-so, take this man, so-and-so, to be your wedded," well, I should do it the other way around. The woman, we'll do the woman, "wife, to live together after God's ordinance in the sacred estate of matrimony. Will you love her, comfort her, honor and cherish her in sickness and in health, in prosperity or adversity, and forsaking all others, keep yourself only unto her, so long as you both shall live." And that's repeated again to the wife, the bride. And the answer is supposed to be, "I will and I do." And many times that is the answer. We're glad when that happens. But those "I will" and those "I do's," they're commitments for life, and that's generally known. But what married couples know is that these words are easier said than done, and we want to premise this little afternoon session together with that reality. Words are easy, actions are harder. We mean well, and we often truly believe that what we've said we're going to do. But then things happen, and we're, let me put it this way, the honeymoon is over. It is way in the rearview mirror, and life has gone on, and before we know, we look at each other and we say, "What has happened here? Who is this I've married?" That can happen, and it unfortunately does happen. And so sometimes what can happen, it's kind of like a plant in your home that is unattended. It's not watered, it's not cared for, and when that happens, that little plant can shrivel up and it can die. I like bonsais, and Jenny has gifted me with a couple of bonsais, and unfortunately, I'm here to tell you today those bonsais are not alive. Those are very difficult plants to keep alive, but they require special attention, and so does your spouse. So does your better half. And so we want to look at the word this morning, or this afternoon rather, the word cherish, because cherishing brings something to the marriage relationship that perhaps other things can't. The only time the word cherish is used in the Bible with relation to marriage is in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 28 and 29. So here's what it says. "So husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and does what? Cherishes it, just as the Lord does the church." So I want you to notice nourishes and cherishes. These two words together speak about providing care and attention. Care and attention. You have to nourish and you have to cherish it. you have to feed it, you have to tenderly care for it. So let me ask a quick question. What does the word cherish mean? Anyone have an idea? What does the word cherish mean? Sorry, say that again? Spoil? Oh, okay, all right. Sammy? They help each other close. Okay, very good. I like that. Cherishing, sure. Anyone else? Valued. Oh, I like that word. It's good. Setting her up on a pedestal. Okay, all right, very good. Oh, that's good. So our word cherish in English is derived from the Greek word. And the Greek word, interesting, I'm going to give you three definitions here. One is to warm, so like holding together, warm. To cherish is to warm someone. Interestingly, another word is to brood. So you're thinking of a chicken, a mother, a hen, brooding her little ones. And then the other word is to foster. So what you're looking at here is deep love and care. That's what the word cherish means in this context biblically. Deep love and care. And it simply means treating someone with affection, with protection and tenderness, often holding them as precious. You use the word value, Carolyn. So you're holding them as someone who's very precious. So I will say this, even though the counsel is offered to husbands primarily in this context, marriage is a two-way street. And so that's what we're going to talk with you about here, about cherishing your spouse, cherishing your husband, and cherishing your wife. And Jenny and I will do that by sharing with you 10 different ways in which you can cherish your spouse. She'll talk about how you can cherish women, how you can cherish your husbands. Yeah, that's better. And then husbands, how you can cherish your brides. That's going to be me. We're not going to be sharing scientific research. We're just going to be sharing from our experience, from others' experience, life experience, and obviously principles from the Word of God. So we hope this will be a blessing. By the way, we're going to just deal with small stuff. We're going to deal with small stuff. Small stuff's very important. It makes a big difference in a relationship. Fun romantic getaways, nice big gifts, they have their place, there's no question. But if that's all your spouse gets and there's no day-to-day cherishing, then often those big gifts ring hollow. And oftentimes, your spouse might feel like you're just being bought for all the times you've been neglected during the day-to-day occasions. Before we get into the 10 points, I want to just tell you about Kula and Josias, a couple that I had the privilege of counseling prior to getting married and then doing their wedding. And they're a precious couple. They're married. They're expecting, is it a girl or boy? I don't remember. She's had it already. Oh, so so she's had it. Anyway, great couple, and we got to do some counselling. And when I was talking with them, and I always talk to young couples when they're thinking about marriage or getting ready for marriage as fiancé, and I always talk to them about making sure you water their plant, water your spouse's plant. Think of your spouse as a plant that need to be watered, tenderly cared for. So they took that and they did something with visual effect. They bought a little olive plant. They listened to what I had to share with them. So they bought an olive plant. They got married in France, in the southern part of France, and they flew me over for a wedding in France, which was quite awesome. And it was in a lavender field and an olive grove. And they bought this little olive plant, and generally in some weddings there's the little the lighting of this candle ceremony and those types of things. But for them, they took the little olive plant and they both poured water into it. And for them, it symbolized what they needed from God and what they would pour into each other's lives as a married couple. And every now and then they'll send me a picture of how that little plant is growing. For them, it's a visual aid reminding them they need to water each other, cherish each other. And so you're going to see some of the olive effects up here because of Josias and Kula. So we're going to get stuck into it. We're going to look at the first one and share some quick thoughts with you here. And we're happy to take questions. And you can interrupt, put your hand up. We'll take your question. If there's need for clarification, I'm going to give this little caveat. You're going to notice some things that Jenny's going to share with regard to women cherishing their husbands, and you're going to say, why are the women being picked on in this way? You'll notice there are some crossovers. There's going to be some crossovers. But we're also talking about ways in which a wife or a husband can cherish their spouse that is meaningful to the female makeup and the male makeup. That's more meaningful to one gender over the other. But there is certainly always going to be some crossover. So let's talk about this first one. This is adopt the Adam and Eve mindset. And so we're going to start with something that kills cherishing. It's kind of a negative start, but we'll get into some positive things. The Adam and Eve mindset. Does anyone know what the Adam and Eve mindset is? Have you ever heard of it before? So when Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, God had created them. Were there other male and females around? No. They were the only ones. And one of the greatest killers to cherishing is comparing your spouse with someone else's or with someone else. The tendency to compare a spouse's weakness with another person's strength is a cherishing killer. In the beginning, and we'll talk about it from the perspective of Eve for just a moment, Eve was the only woman alive. And when Adam saw her, he called her a woe man. That's what he called her, a woe man. He was deeply impressed. Woe man. He was deeply impressed. She was the only female, and any version of a woman he only saw her in Eve. And so this is the Adam and Eve mindset, considering your spouse as the only spouse alive. That's it. Yeah. Say that again? Is that good? Yeah. We'll just put it in English and with an Australian accent. That's what we'll do. You think about it from this perspective. 1 carat diamond. Now that would be the envy of most people. And if you came into the possession of a 1 carat diamond, you'd say, oh man, how fantastic is that? And others, you'd share that with others. Look what I came into the possession of. And others are oohing and ahhing over the 1 carat diamond. And then someone else comes along and they somehow came into possession of a 6 carat diamond. So now tell me, by comparison, which is more valuable? Right. So now the 1 carat diamond doesn't seem as significant as the 6 carat diamond. A comparison, and this is with regard to relationship, comparison can devalue even things of worth. 1 carat diamond, fantastic. But when you compare it with a 6 and you do the comparison, it can devalue that thing that's incredibly valuable already. And that's what happens sometimes in relationships. We look at what's happening with this family or relationship. We notice what's going on over here, and sometimes we don't have that Adam-Eve mindset. My spouse is my spouse. I love them for who they are. That's who they are. We can't change them. Only God can meddle in that area. We can't. And have that mindset. So some of us, we need to pray. Pray for the Adam and Eve mindset. All right.
And I'll just add to that. I'll just add to that because I'll go ahead and embarrass him. When we first met, I knew he was going to be a pastor, but I did not feel myself that I deserved him. That's how I felt. And still today, after years of marriage, I still look at him. I don't deserve you. If you keep if you keep that initial when you met your spouse,
spark maybe, yeah.
That spark, it really carries through your marriage. That what has attracted you in the beginning, keep that alive. Because still today, I don't feel like I deserve it. But yeah, keep that spark alive.
Darling, touch my heart. All right. I'll tell you this, plenty of times I look at my wife and I just thank God for my wife. I thank God for my wife. She's been putting up with me for all these years, and I still don't understand how I got her, so I'm blessed. Yeah, that's an important point. But Adam and Eve mindset, he's the only one, she's the only one. It's who you've got. Cherish that. All right. So I'm going to begin with the first one. This is for men regarding her, your spouse, and so this is the first of 10, cherishing. Well, actually, we did the first one, adopt the Adam and Eve mindset. So this is the second one, sacrifice for her. Sacrifice for her. And this is really and truly biblical. Jesus loved the church and gave himself for her. He gave us an example of what true headship, true leadership, true husbandry looks like in the marriage. So when we talk about sacrificing for her, I'm not talking about like everything and it's just life is over for you. I'm talking about moments and times and instances. So for example, let's just assume, fellas, that the boys, you're getting together with the boys, they're ready to, you're going to go out and, I don't know, I don't want to say hunt, but you're going to go fish, maybe you're going to just go bowling. I don't know, you're just going to hang out with the fellas. Something you've planned, and you realize your bride is, she's got a bit of downtime at the same time. She really has indicated she wants to be together with you. She doesn't want to be alone during this downtime. And so you recognize that, and you now have an option. You have an option to ignore it and say, I'm going out with the fellas. Or I have the option of saying, I can get with the guys any other time. When do I get this moment? So I sacrifice, not really a sacrifice, but you know what I mean. I'm giving up my preference for that moment in order to bring something to the relationship and spend time with my bride. So you can kind of fill in the blanks and do what you think is appropriate at a given time. And by the way, this isn't me suggesting to you to adopt the saying, happy wife, happy life. That's probably not a great saying at all. This is me just saying, value your wife. And if there's a need there, be willing to give up something in order to spend time with her. That's just one example. But sacrifice for her. She won't ever forget. She won't ever forget those moments that when you showed more interest in her than your own things. And so sacrifice for her when it's appropriate. Okay, I'm done.
The next one is respect your man. So in today's society, if you notice, a lot of that has shifted to women downing their husband in society today, which is sad. Puts the man in a position where they're not respected in the eyes of other women. Oh, if they can do that, I'll do that too. It's this movement of women being out there doing man things, and I can do it better. That mentality, which is not always healthy. It's not healthy in a marriage. So no husband comes perfect. No wife comes perfect.
Oh, okay.
We all have our problems. We have our battles with self. And but the husband deserves your respect. He's the head of the home. He works to provide for the family. So when you're in public, make sure to be careful how we talk about our husbands. What we say, think about what you're saying. If it's in private, it needs to stay private. If you want to say something that will be uplifting to someone else about your husband, that's all good. But yeah, showing respect, supporting him in his work, even when I know in our situation there have been times in the past where ministry is hard, and I've been there where I've heard people talk negatively about your husband, and that doesn't settle well with the wife. And so, but, you know, keeping that, being careful how you present yourself around the person who may not be thinking highly of your husband. But making sure that I'm giving my respect or encouraging him at home. Honey, you're doing a great job. It doesn't matter what else is happening, who else thinks you're not. I know that you're putting heart and soul into it. And I know I love you because you are doing your best. And that's what I try to do. And that's what we should all, as wives, do, is keep encouraging your husband.
If I could say from a male perspective, when Jenny, when she looks up to me, and she literally does look up to me, when she says things like that, it makes me feel 10 foot tall and bulletproof. I don't know what it is in the male psyche and how we're built, but that affirmation is so very important that when it's coming from the wife. So you talked about it positionally as well, not just positionally because he's the husband and head of the home, but also compliments when compliments are due and so on. Yeah. And by the way, that works the other way around, fellas. Gentlemen, husbands, complimenting your wife and affirming her too. This is very important. Yeah. All right. So that was for the ladies, right? Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This can be confusing sometimes. All right. The way we got this set up, I didn't set it up too well, I don't think. All right. So this is for the guys with regard to her. Speak well of her. Speak well of her. Speak well of her. Say kind things about her to others. Let others know that you cherish your wife. And it's perfectly fine for her to hear them when you're saying those things to others. Don't ever put her down. Don't ever make her the brunt of a cruel joke. I've seen that time and time again where it's just a real put down on the wife, and it's so inappropriate. Praise her qualities, extol her virtues. Be proud of your wife in front of others, especially in front of the kids. Especially in front of the kids. And she's certainly going to always feel valued. She's always going to feel cherished and loved. And when you're cherishing your wife in front of the children, the way you interact with her, the way you talk to her kindly and lovingly and so on, there's two things that are going on. If there are boys in the home, you're teaching the boys how to treat ladies and women. You're not just telling them how to treat, but you're showing them how to treat. There's a little saying that says, I think it's, I've tried to tell my kids how to do things certain ways, but they always insist on doing what I've done. I mean, you can tell them 100 times over, but your child will always do what you do. That's just how it is. So you're doing that. You're teaching boys how to treat women properly. The other thing is, and I don't know how it works and how what's going on behind the scenes and what's going on psychologically, but when the husband is treating his wife well and cherishing his wife in front of the kids, this brings a certain degree of respect that comes to bear from the children to the mother. If the husband is disrespecting the wife, guess what the kids are going to do? They'll disrespect their mum. But when the husband is taking good care of his wife and loving her and cherishing her, having fun with her, doing it in front of the kids, hugging her, kissing her, and speaking well to her, this rubs off on the kids, and the kids have more respect for their mother. In fact, when I've done family counseling and talked with husbands, wives, kids, and particularly when I'm talking with a husband and wife, I'll learn perhaps in this particular scenario, the husband is a bit coarse with his wife. He's very blunt and not patient. And I've picked up that this is what the kids are seeing. And their complaint is not their marriage when they've come to me. The complaint is the behavior of the children. And so what I always do is I always ask them in a roundabout way, so tell me how you live your lives. How do you treat each other, husband and wife? And 9 times out of 10, most times out of 10, it's going to be the husband who's not respecting his wife. And that has been impacting the behavior of the kids in the home. And so when husband and wife get some things sorted out, and she also respects him, and this is going on nicely in a home, what ends up happening, and it just happens, the kids end up things end up being better in the home. Not everything's solved. There needs to be some discussions and boundaries created and so on. But when husbands and wives love each other and cherish each other in front of their kids, it sorts a lot of stuff out in the home, and kids tend to be more open to learning and listening to their parents. So that's where I start. I start with the parents if the kids are unruly, because there's something going on in the family, not all the time, but something's going on in the marriage that's affecting the kids. It's interesting how it works. All right, so was that you or me? I just feel like, oh, that was me. I'm just talking here. All right, next one.
The next one is avoid fault finding and complaining. This is going to be hard for most marriages. Men call this nagging. Now, early on, I have to confess, early on in my married life, as soon as we got married, I wasn't working at the time, and by myself. We were in another country starting our life, so it was no family.
She didn't have the proper visa. It's all of that.
No
so
family, and so
stuff.
It was lonely. I have to admit, it was lonely at times, and I just couldn't wait for him to get home. So, but his job required. He was out late nights, and this went on for years, and there was a time when I think I nagged him a bit, when he was going to come home, and knowing that his late work, I would get upset with his boss and inside. But then I got to the point where I realized, I think my mother had a few choice words with me about how to cooperate in a marriage relationship with him working. And I realized, I need to, he's got his work, his ministry. He can't come home and spend time with me if he's round-the-clock ministry. And so instead of complaining, or I don't know if I ever nagged you, but complaining a little bit about it, I decided, I need to pray. I need to pray more. Take my complaints, take my loneliness to God, and leave him, support him, realize he has work to do, and pray more. Pray more for your husband instead of complaining. And when I found out, things got better when I just prayed. Even if there's something that you disagree with, and maybe he doesn't see it the same way, I learned to just pray about it. And it all happened to just flow the right way after I had prayed about it. So I would say it's a very important thing for wives to pray for their husbands. Were you going to say something?
No, I shouldn't say it. I was going to say it. She prayed and shed some tears, and that worked. Got my attention.
Now communication is also valuable, and that's something I think I'm still learning, even after years of being married, is communication. But I know that communication has gotten better. And I love the times where we can just sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk about things, about how things are going and the kids and whatever, our future. It's that open communication that you need that in order to, it makes you, help you unload your burdens, and your husband's there to help you and support you, and it's just, what do you call it? I don't know. It's the same both ways. Sure. It's the same both ways. So being a good listener to your husband, because he has burdens, and he is likewise, a listener. And that's what Christ shared his example with us. He is a burden bearer. So his arms are stronger, his shoulders are broader. And like in the marriage relation, we need to share our burdens to each other.
Yeah. I think so. You said a phrase, heart to heart, and that may not have registered well with some of the guys in here today. Because sitting down and talking with your bride, she loves those moments where you can talk and share, and you're even opening your heart. That's a bit tougher for us to do that as fellas, but it's absolutely necessary, and we can learn it. I was just going to mention fault-finding criticism. I mean, it can wear a couple down. I'm not going to say the marriage down, because we're not fighting for a marriage, we're fighting for each other. It can wear couples down. So you just take a very basic scenario, and this is probably this might be a common occurrence. It's probably more common than not. But let's just say gentleman, husband comes home, gets changed, plops his stuff on the floor, and just leaves it there. And his bride walks past the stuff of clothes on the floor and says, "Hey, could you pick that up?" And he says, "Yeah, I'll get to it." And she comes back an hour later, and lo and behold, stuff's still on the floor. "Hey, didn't I tell you to pick that up?" And he said, "Yeah, I told you I was going to get to it." And an hour passes, and lo and behold, it's still there on the ground. And she says, why is it that every time you do this, I have to come behind you and pick up everything? And then his response is, "Why are you being such a nag?" And so this is I'm not necessarily over this issue, but this is a common conversation that happens a lot in married couples' lives. The problem here is at the level of communication, like Jenny was saying. Did she clarify what she meant by pick these up in a time frame? No, she didn't. She just said pick these up. She didn't say when. She just said pick them up. And he interpreted that, I'll just get to it when I get to it. But he didn't help either, because he didn't tell her when he would pick it up. So you see the problem here? So some discussions can kind of spiral out of control because there's a lack of clarification and communication. So maybe what could she have said better if he's leaving his clothes? Well, what could he have done? What could he have done? But anyway, what could she have said that would have helped the situation? Can someone help me?
Pick it up now.
Okay, I'm sure. That's not bad. Now? Yeah. Or, hey, do you mind picking up the clothes within the next maybe 15, 20 minutes? Yeah, something like that.
I think I'm very particular. Like, I think everyone knows that it's like I tell her how I feel. Like, I tell her, "Honey, I get very stressed." You know, I tell her my feelings.
Oh, so you're adding pressure. I see how this works. But no, Amon, this is good because you're explaining how you feel. And that's good, because we don't often talk about how we feel with our spouse. We assume they know how we feel. And oftentimes we don't tell them how we feel, we just tell them what we think. And those are two different things.
And we have to be careful how we ask too. Because we may not be feeling right at that moment, but let it filter. How am I going to
give it
ask?
Time. So you could say, "Hey, honey, do you mind just grabbing these in the next 15, 20 minutes? That'd be wonderful. Thanks so much." And then he could have said, "Fine, honey, I will do that in the next 15, 20 minutes." Right? So now, if he said that, then what does he need to do? Keep his word. Because this is where trust will break down if he doesn't do what he says. So if he says, "I'm going to do it in 20 minutes," he should do it in around that time, and make it done. So this is on the level of communication. Sometimes a lot of unnecessary arguing and criticism and nagging can occur because there is no clarity in what we're asking for. We just assume our spouse knows exactly what we're saying, and that doesn't always happen. So communicate and talk. I know that was yours. Sorry.
Also, praise when he does things for you. I know.
Thank you.
I'm always, because I'm sometimes I'm teaching, and so usually on Fridays I could not get home in time, but he would have the chores going. He still does that for me. And I take my hat off to him for doing that for me. But make sure you thank him for, oh, thank you, honey, for doing the dishes. Thank you for doing the laundry. I couldn't do it without your help. And thank him when he brings you flowers. Because
she doesn't get them too often.
Thank him for those special little things that he does for you. And make sure that when he's doing special things for you, make him something special once in a while, something he likes. Even just get him a card to encourage him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Sounds good. Jenny does this really well. If I do something, she doesn't tell me whether I did a good job or not. She just thanks me. It's like, is that not the way I would have done it? Thank you, darling. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. But occasionally she will say, next time, do you mind? You did such a nice job, but do you mind if you just do it this way? And so that's fine. That's perfectly fine. So always give some praise too. Sorry, I need to move on here. This is for the guys. Value time with her. Is that right? Yeah. Value time with her. And don't just want to spend time with your bride because you have to. Make sure that she knows that you want to. So you kind of have to make sure you don't roll your eyes and sighs and excuses, but let her in those moments into your life at that particular moment. When you're raising, if she's raising a concern or a problem, then make sure that and this has to do a bit with communication as well. Make sure you're looking at her and you're responding to her, not head in the computer, on the phone. Yeah, got it. Yeah, that's fine, got it. Look at your spouse and acknowledge what she's saying. And if you're not sure if you understood what she was saying, then fellas, we just repeat what she said or ask her, am I understanding this correctly, that you're saying this is a concern or a challenge at this particular time? Repeat it. And that way you're showing that you're actually listening. So communication's really, really important in that particular respect. There was something else I was going to say here. It was this. Because, fellas, we can be in the middle of something. We're very focused on that, and Jenny's going to talk to that in a second. But we can be very focused on something. So if your wife comes with a question or a concern, and you're in the middle of something, don't ignore or pretend to be listening or just blow it off. But you may just want to stop what you're doing for a second and say, hey, I'm wondering, I'm in the middle of something right now, but is this something that needs to be addressed right now, or I'll be done in about 15, 20 minutes on this. Can we talk about this after? And so you've clarified, you've communicated what your particular need is at that moment. You need to finish, but you're also showing that you're open to talking about it now if it needs attention now. And so again, coming back to what I said earlier, if you said 15, 20 minutes, it has to be 15, 20 minutes, because that, again, will breed trust. And then you can sit down and have that conversation, talk about that particular thing. But value time with her, because when she's able to share and talk to you about stuff, that's really meaningful and very important for your wife, more than for you as a man. That may not feel important to you. You may not feel that you have to offload, but just sitting there and listening. Now, I'll just say this one last thing, and that is this. Guys are prone to solve problems. We're built this way, where our mind is in the frame of mind where we want to solve problems. So let me just share a quick incident. This didn't happen in our home, but it happened in another home. She was in the car, and she was getting ready to back the car out of the driveway, but she forgot that the garage door was shut. So she backed into the garage door. And the garage door, it was damaged. And so she knows this, and she starts to, tear up and, oh no, what have I done? And her husband, he's inside, he hears the commotion. He hears the crunch, and he rushes into the garage, and he sees his wife there kind of falling into a puddle. She's upset. She knows he's going to be upset. This is going to cost money. Why did he do such a foolish thing? And he comes in, and the first thing that he's going to do? He's going to come right in and he's going to say, now, listen, next time you get in the car, look in the rearview mirror. Make sure that the garage door is up. And when you do that, you won't ever have this problem again. Because that's what guys do. We fix problems. We're problem solvers, right?
Yes.
But let me ask you this question. If it were you, honey, what would you want at that moment? Would you like a lecture from your husband?
I would want a hug.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so this is what she wants, and so we must give it. Give her a hug, then give her a lecture. Is that all right? Okay. All right. Okay, we move on.
Okay, so value his time. So this comes with experience, I guess. Our brains, our women's brains, we saw, I forgot the name of it, but it was marriage seminar DVDs that were just fantastic. And the man was, the presenter was talking about a woman's brain versus a man's brain. And the woman's brain just all over the place. Everything, there's just no rhyme or reason. It's just going all the time.
And it's also the electricity that's going on in the brain.
Yes.
There's more electricity crossing the spheres in the brain, in a woman's brain, than there is in a man's.
In the man's brain, because the man's brain has certain compartments, and he talked about there is a compartment where it's the, what did he call it?
It's the nothing box. The nothing box.
The nothing box. So
it's the nothing box.
As females, we do not have a nothing box. When I'm lying down to sleep at night, he's out. But my mind is still going crazy. Sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not good, but that's. And Jackie's shaking her head. Yes.
Nodding. Yeah.
It's going. So.
And by the way, that when you ask your husband, women, ladies, wives, when you ask your husband, what are you thinking about, and he says nothing, very likely that's what's going on. Not thinking about anything. Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. Preach.
So the trick of valuing his time, not interrupting him is if he's doing work on the computer or if he's in a Zoom meeting or something, I know that's not the time to interrupt. Now, in extreme emergencies,
sure,
I will write something on a sticky note and put it so he can see it. Sometimes he'll just give me a nod or whatever. So that's part of valuing his time. They tend to be focused, like he said. So we have to, I think it's important for at least for me, I don't know about, I'm sure the rest of you would agree, for the ladies to think about, not every time is a good time for your spouse. Think about, okay, we're in the car driving on vacation, that might be a good time to talk. So he's not preoccupied with his work. So pick a time, not when you're trying to be in a hurry to come to church or to a meeting. That's not the time. Pick and choose your times to talk.
I'm sorry, I'm just smiling because I just want to make sure folk don't think that we only talk when we're on vacation.
No.
We have conversations
Yes.
between vacations as well. So I just want to clarify, but yeah. But I think it just comes back to the makeup of the male and female, because we are built differently. The brain functions differently. There is no research. I told you I wasn't going to talk about research, but research, countless. The brains work differently, and it's a lot harder for a guy who's. And this is why Jenny's saying what she's saying. I didn't tell her to tell you this, but this is why she's saying what she's saying. If you're having trouble, wives, with your husband when they're in the middle of a project or doing something, you're trying to get his attention or think about something else, it's a lot more effort for the man's mind to transition from one thing to the next quickly. Yeah. That's hard for a woman to understand because she can do it very quickly and she can do multi things at once. Now, we're generalizing here. Please understand. We're generalizing. There are some guys, I don't understand it, but they can multitask. I look at them and say, where did you learn that? But in general, guys, we focused, and that's why she's talking about valuing the time. If they're in the middle of something, just understand, because that's going to prevent future challenges or even an immediate argument, or he doesn't love me, he doesn't listen to me. No, he's focused, and it may not be the right time. It may be an emergency and he has to switch. I'm not saying, we can't. We should, and we ought to. But it just takes a little extra effort for us. So that's, I guess, the point.
Yeah. So also, as far as if his mind is focused, or your husband's mind is focused, if you don't choose the right time, then you're going to get a response like, what did you just say? Can you repeat? So that's why it's good to find the right time.
Yeah.
Look him in the eye.
Yeah.
We need to talk.
Yeah, and this isn't an excuse either for husbands to, you can't take this now and go back home and you're in the middle of a project and your wife says, hey, I need to talk to you. And you say, did you not hear what Chris and Jenny just told us at the marriage seminar?
No.
I'm focused. I can't switch gears here. So this is not an excuse for that. You got it, gentlemen, you got it. But it's just a way to help your wives understand, and we can transition. It just might take a little extra effort, and we can put in the effort from time to time. It's fine. All right. So let me come to, anyone have any questions up to this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a worker, so I would take the time to play with my wife and to make sure we have moments. If I said, honey, we're going to North Carolina today to take a moment, she will find everything in that house to do. She will dust the windows, she will dust everything. How do you work with it? What's the best way to not to get off the edge?
Value her time, that's right. Yeah. Maybe pick up a rag and clean the window next to the window she's cleaning. Compromises. Yeah.
I'll share this quickly with you.
Mm-hmm.
We were in Jamaica. I wanted this moment with her, and she would not listen. So you know what I did? I told her we have an emergency meeting for the family. And my wife, whenever time she travels with her food. So she packed her stuff, all her food and everything. And you know where we went? Straight to the hotel.
Oh.
She took our food in a all-inclusive hotel.
All right. So you resorted to the extremities, I see. All right. But it doesn't have to be that way. And this is, you're talking to a fundamental issue here, not just you and Novia, but most married couples have it, and that is understanding each other. And really, the onus is on men to understand their wives. You know that. 1 Peter 3, verse 7, men, live with them with understanding. The reason is not because women are complex, although women are not complex. It's because the onus is on us to understand, because we don't often want to. Men can be lazy. We can be lazy. And so we have to live with them with understanding. Learn things about your wife that you don't understand. Listen, observe, and then you find different ways to accomplish what you hope to accomplish. Yeah. All right. And then just call me. We can set up a marriage counselling appointment. Okay. All right. And you notice these work both ways. You're noticing that, right? Yeah. But there are little specifics to male and female, and Jenny was bringing up the issue with regard to men and focus and all of that. Anyway, men, share and surprise. We each have our responsibilities in the home and do the things we need to do, but it is really nice, and your wife will really love this. It's a way of showing you cherish her by surprising her with your thoughtfulness and doing some things that she normally does in the home, but you pick up to do for her. And I don't know, I'm looking around here today, I'm sure every man in this room has done that at least once. So keep doing that. That's a really important thing to do. I read of a gentleman who Sabbath mornings were chaos in the home. I think a lot of families can attest when you've got young kids. It can be chaotic. And he decided to take Sabbath mornings by the bull of the horns. And he said, we're going to change this. So without talking to his wife, who would normally be the one getting up a little early and getting breakfast prepped and getting the kids up, he got up an hour early, did his worship, got dressed, had shower, got dressed, and then went up, let his wife sleep because she was working just as hard as he was, if not harder, and went up, patted the kids, stroked them on the back, gently woke them up, told them, when you have a moment, pray to Jesus, and then make sure you get your clothes on, and then come on down, and breakfast will be ready. So he did this, and so she's sleeping, and he's working on breakfast, just a little prep, not a lot of prep, Sabbath morning, getting it all ready, and then he goes in to wake up his wife, and she's now awake, and she comes in for breakfast. The kids are dressed, everything is ready to go. And Sabbath mornings now have become a lot less frantic and chaotic because he decided to take the bull by the horns. He surprised her by doing something that she would normally do, and it actually helped the situation out. No one was going crazy. Now, I'm not suggesting in the slightest that she was the problem. I'm not suggesting that because when she did it, things were crazy, and when he did it, things were good, so it was her fault. That's not what was going on. But he was not potentially cooperating in Sabbath morning activities to help the situation. So he did something to share responsibilities and to surprise her, and that worked. And so their Sabbath morning ventures to church became less chaotic and more enjoyable because he made an effort and sacrificed perhaps a little extra sleep for himself and let his precious bride have some sleep herself. Okay. Yes.
And next one is carry your fair share of responsibilities as a family. If you're walking out the door, you can ask them, honey, what do you need me to get for you today? Or is there something I can do while I'm out? And just be a team player. So a spouse to just do all the work and the other one not, that causes feelings of being overworked and unsupported. Now, this is I'm throwing this in just to be a little funny, but back in the 50s, they had, I've read several of these where they had guidelines to be the best wife in the 50s. And I'm sure some of you read those. But so it's not related to that, which some of them were when the husband comes home, be there to greet him, make sure you're all dolled up with no rollers, just all dolled up. Make sure that you pat the easy chair for him. Bring him the newspaper.
Bring him his slippers.
Bring him his slippers. Help him undo those shoes. Make sure that before he comes home, you have gone through and cleaned everything. Make sure that you make his favorite meal when he comes home.
I contend we go back to the 1950s. How about it?
Yes. So it's hilarious to read some of these, but that was actually the criteria for the best, how to be the best wife back then. Well, the times have changed. Now women and men are both working full-time jobs. So it's not possible that we can do all that. But however, we want to make sure that we do our part to help in making, and I don't think there's anything wrong with making a special meal to surprise them because they enjoy that. But make an equal balance. Because
even after you're married, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
That's
Still, yeah. All right. The next one here is. Oh yeah, go ahead. You want the slippers and the patting on the chair too? Gentlemen, let her know that she's attractive to you. Attractive. And there's different flavors of attraction. There's emotional, there's mental, there's physical, spiritual, and certainly sexual as well. Your woman needs to know that she's needed and that she's wanted. It's very vital to a healthy relationship, and of course to cherishing your wife. And sometimes it's not just a matter of, because guys aren't always great with words, and some guys are, but some guys aren't. And it's more than just saying, honey, you're attractive. We have to put a little more thought into it, a little bit more effort. And sometimes it's not just what you say, it's how you act, showing that she is attractive, sporting with her just a little bit and having fun with her and being attentive and so on. So there's different things we can do physically and verbally, certainly, that can let her know that she is attractive to us in the different ways in which she's attractive to us. You can use a combination of physical affection. Certainly compliments are great, and even a little bit of flirting to reignite the spark if needed is always useful. So just keep that in mind. Let her know she's attractive to you, and even let her know. I love the way you think. I love the way you think. And I love that we can just sit down, we can have a conversation, talk about things. I love the way you look. I love the way you look. You're more beautiful today than the day I married you. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So talk to your bride. Tell her how attractive she is in the various ways she's attractive to you. And be sincere, of course. All right.
And I guess the same goes with us toward our husbands, to let them know that, yes, you are attracted to them. Even years after, age brings things. It changes our physique, but we still want to let them know how handsome you are to me. It doesn't hurt to, and I know early in our relationship, we had a name for each other, and we've carried that through our relationship. Nice names. And so it's endearing. It's endearing when your husband or the wife treat each other like you're still dating. And I know it's easy for housewives to let it all down. Don't let it go. Where you've got kids and you just want to be in your sweats or pajamas all day. But that doesn't always help. At times you want to be attractive to your husband. Take pride, self-respect on how you look. I know my grandmother, growing up, she was a very, how should I say, she was a proud woman, but very proper. And I was thinking about this the other day, I never saw her dressed frumpy. She was always dressed very nice, whether we had to go to the grocery store or whatever. And it did a lot for us as grandchildren to look up to her and have that respect. Oh, when we go out, even if it's to the store, we're going to look nice because we have a reason to. We are children of the Heavenly King. So our mothers need to look like a child of the King, or the mother of the home. She is the sunshine in the home. She is the way to present, and how the children will have more respect. And when they have their children, they will want to naturally have that kind of upbringing for their child.
Yeah. So you're saying that wives should be dressed up at the house even on relaxed days?
No,
I'm just making sure. Okay.
Put in the context, you don't have to always, just like the 50s, they always expected them to dress up every time the husband comes home. But, sorry?
He likes the 50s.
Just make sure that, comb your hair, do something nice so that you're not looking, well, honey, I just left you. You never got out of your pajamas today. That type of thing. So.
And there are going to be days, and you've got to admit,
Yeah.
there are going to be
If
days.
you're sick.
And especially when you've got young kids, it happens. It's all right. No condemnation here. All right. Be polite. That's men. Be polite to your wives. That means being respectful and being hygienic. Be hygienic. So treat your wives like ladies. And that simply means, as I've said before, when we've talked a lot about this, treat them with respect, regardless of their choices and their actions. Wives always deserve respect. Jenny's talked about that from the wife's perspective to husbands, but husbands as well. Regardless of your wife's choices and behavior, she deserves your respect because of who she is. And a bit of male chivalry can go a long way as well. You know, the old opening the door, you know, holding the door open as she takes a seat in the car. What other things? Holding some things as you're walking together, take them out of her hands. Just little simple things that go a long way. Simple initiative in interaction, taking initiative to interact. Hey, you want to go? You want to go get a drink and then we'll sit down together. Go get a what would it be? A Sprite,
I don't know, but
an orange
whenever-
juice,
but
or
whenever
something
you-
together.
Whenever you say things like that, if he comes to me and says that, you know, hey, why don't we go out and get a smoothie or something? I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, it's something different, and that something different can help, you know.
And Tropical Smoothie Cafe has great smoothies. So
Just
that's
time,
right.
even if it's 10 minutes with him, it's great.
Yeah. All right. Very good. It's you.
Oh, I'm next. Okay, so be playful. There's a way to get a man's attention that's not just all, you know, serious and everything. And it's fun. It keeps the marriage happy. But be playful. I think that I was trying to think of the couple in the Bible. I think it was
Isaac and
Rebecca. If you read their story, there's something in their story where it says they were sporting.
That's the King James version of sporting.
Yeah, they were being playful, and I think it was interesting how that was put in the Bible, because I think the Lord wants us to have a playful spirit in our marriages. Not everything's all humdrum or serious issues, finances, doing the dishes, taking the trash out, but it's finding ways that can be fun. And I'll just say this.
Uh-oh.
In Pennsylvania, we were living in an area with a lot of groundhogs, and we were trying to grow a garden. And so the owner of the house that we were renting, he gave us a trap. And so we thought, okay, we're going to catch these things. So this one particular day, there was a skunk in the trap. So we didn't know what to do. We hadn't have the right equipment. We just went out. We knew we needed to get free the skunk because he was going to die in the trap. So we donned on plastic trash bags, cut a hole on the top and arms, and put them on. And we went out to go try to free the skunk. And the neighbors, by the way, were watching this whole thing across the road.
We had no idea.
So we
thought we were alone.
We finally got the broom handle or whatever we had. He was trying to get the trap door open at a distance. And finally it opened, but of course, as soon as it opened, we just took off running, and I was falling, trying to run away. So that we look back at those things, it was so funny. But at the moment, you were hoping you would get away from the skunk before he got you. Find ways that make memories, fun times together, not with your kids as well, but memories that you won't forget.
Yeah, and I think just in general interaction, husbands respond well when their wives, a bit playful, poking them in the ribs or bumping them this way. Yeah, guys, it's kind of it creates a deeper connection. It's kind of strange, I know, ladies, but we respond to things like that. And even if it's a sporting event, guys like their wives to come with them. That's a really neat thing for them to show interest in those things too. All right, we've got to move along here. Be an understanding father. This is for the gentlemen. If you've got kids, be an understanding father. If you have children and are intentionally thoughtful and caring toward them versus being harsh, mean, and impatient with them, this will endear yourself even more to your wife than really anything else. The last thing your wife wants is a husband who is scathing and who is impatient and is after her children. But when you're kind to them and you are, you've got to be the father of the home, but you're being kind about it, you're being understanding. It really endears your wife to yourself. Let me see here. She loves this in her man. Taking time to counsel and edify the children. That's even engaging them in worthwhile activities, being involved with them in spiritual development, teaching them manners and different things. Wives love it when they see their husbands engaged in their children's lives. It really connects her heart even more to her husband's heart. Yeah.
And we kind of talked about respect yourself already, but also not just with looks, but how to behave with kindness, kind words, and courtesy. And this again, take care of yourself. Your health, not just your looks, but your health. Because if we're not feeling good, then we're not making our husbands feel good either. So we have to take initiative to help make sure that we are doing what we can. Exercise together, that is a good thing to do as couples, is taking care of yourself together.
Yeah. Next one, gentlemen, advance your wife. Advance your wife. Just don't think about your own personal advancements, but also their advancements. And sometimes husbands can open up doors of possibilities for their wives to do that. And I think this is really important throughout marriage, thinking about your wife and her needs and her aspirations and being supportive of those particular things. And this becomes even more important when the kids are transitioning, maybe going off to school and whatever the age is where mum may be going back to work outside the home. Notice outside the home, not work is inside the home too. Outside the home, because raising kids takes work, then you want to be able to make sure that you're helping and thinking about her needs in that respect as well. It's very, very important. Jenny loves to sing. Prior to us getting married, she was able to put together a CD or cassette tape, whatever it was back in those days. But I think it was a CD. And we had little ones, and an opportunity opened for Jenny to put together another CD of Christian songs and music. And so in order for that to happen, I needed to put a few things on hold, and I needed to make sure that Dad was with the kids so that Jenny could take the necessary time to work on that CD. So it was a pleasure for me because this was really meaningful to Jenny, and I really wanted to see her do this and see her get involved in that particular way because it was very important to her. So there's little things you can do to advance your wife, and then there are bigger things you can do to advance her too. But always keep that in mind. Be mindful of your wife's plans and projects as well.
Next one is don't get stuck. Be willing to compromise your preferences and opinions. So be flexible in your marriage. I guess it can come down to, I made the decision last time, you make the decision this time about what we want to do today. So just be flexible.
Okay. All right. And the same goes with guys, doesn't it? Really, we can't be so hard-nosed. One of the things that I tell couples, especially as they're getting married, if they're flexible in their relationship, they have a lot of give and take. I commend that, and I tell them continue that, because flexibility in a marriage is very, very important. There's going to be a lot of give and take on preferences. Not talking about principles, but preferences. All right, And then, gentlemen, make sure that you spiritually lead your family. One of the primary responsibilities of a guy is, and it's written in the book of Deuteronomy, is to cheer your wife. To cheer your wife. And this is not just about cracking jokes or dad jokes. This is really about protecting the home, the family, providing for the family. And one of the best ways you can bring cheer to your wife is by spiritually leading your family. This does something in her mind and in her heart that really not a lot of other things can do, and to endear yourself to her. So deal with spiritual matters in the home. Talk to your children about Jesus, having a saving relationship with them, answering their Bible questions, leading out in family worships, being the first one out the door and leading your family to church on Sabbath mornings, engaging them even in prayer meetings if you can engage them in prayer meetings. But taking the spiritual lead in your home is vitally important. And what this does is it translates to your children what's important for the family. There are statistics, and I'm not going to get into them, but they do show that if a husband is not engaged spiritually and the wife is, then the interest in spiritual things gets to a certain level in the children's lives. But when both husband and wife, mum and dad, are spiritually engaged, it raises the bar even more. And the children see in that mum and dad a wonderful example that they want to emulate, especially if it's a loving home. Yeah, there needs to be boundaries, clearly defined boundaries, there needs to be discipline, but always in the context of love and hugs and all of those things. But they will, in that context, it will endear your children to the religion of Christianity, to Jesus Christ, and accepting God's word as the standard for living, because they see it lived out in your life. They see you allowing Jesus to work in you, and that's very powerful for kids. I'll tell you, this is just anecdotal. It's my experience. My dad didn't want anything to do with Christianity when we were growing up. Mum became an Adventist. I shared some of my story, but it was Mum's example that stuck with us as kids growing up. We'd go to church and she'd literally drag us to the car. We didn't want to go, but you're coming, this is important. And we'd be in church and she'd be singing and we could see tears coming down her eyes. We knew she loved Jesus. We knew this was very important. She was at church events and there was worship to be had. Regardless of what Dad was doing, Mum would do what she needed to do. And it had an effect. Imagine the powerful influence of Mum and Dad being in unison on this very thing. And so, dads, lead your family spiritually.
And the last one is encourage and praise. We've already talked about this, how much our husbands need encouragement. So make sure that you tell him, you appreciate what he does and his work. And we've kind of touched on that.
Yeah, we have. I would just say this too. There's times where Jenny will come up to me and she'll just stop me in the middle of something that I'm doing. She'll look up at me and she'll say, "I just want to let you know, I'm proud of what you're doing. Thank you for loving my children. Thank you for," she'll just, and all of a sudden I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof. It just does something to a guy's heart when your wives do things like that. Now she can tell you, when you're being silly, and that's good too. But when you're doing something right, it's good to know it. Yeah, it does something to you. And do the same to your wife. Tell her, not that she's going to feel 10 foot tall and bulletproof, but she's going to feel loved and cherished when you compliment her, for sure. All right, well, we're going to wrap up, and there was a bonus. How many of you are familiar with love languages? There's books that have been written about this. It's pretty intriguing and interesting. But this has to do with how a person receives and expresses love. And there are different love languages: words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, receiving gifts. So if your spouse values, if your wife values time, arrange outings with her, because she'll really enjoy that. If it's physical touch, then give her a foot massage at the end of the day, something like that. So recognize your spouse's love language, how they respond to, receive, and give love. I remember I was doing counseling with a couple And I don't remember all the details. But they did not attend my church. This was in Sacramento, but they would watch us from a distance via streaming and whatever. And they came to my office and said, "Pastor, we need your help." I said, "Well, if you need my help, then you need Jesus' help." So I said, "Fine, that's fine. Let's sit down, let's talk." And it was interesting because the biggest complaint was the way that he interacted with her and she interacted with him. So, for example, when he would walk into a room and she's let's say she's doing the dishes at the kitchen sink, he would walk by her and go, whoop, on her backside and just keep on walking like that. And he thought that was fantastic, that she would love that. Every now and then he'd come over and he'd just go, like this, hip to hip or shoulder to shoulder, and then he'd move on. He thought he was speaking to her. He was really doing something nice to her. And so I looked at her and I asked her, so how do you like that? How do you take that? And she looked at me, and then she looked at him, and she said, "I hate it. I hate it. It makes me feel cheap. Makes me feel like I'm nothing. He doesn't talk to me an awful lot, and he just comes in and pats my behind or comes up alongside of me. I hate it." I said, "Okay." So I looked at him and I said, "Tell me, why do you do that to your wife? Has she told you she doesn't like it?" "Oh, yeah, she gives off vibes and it's very frustrating. I don't understand. I don't know why she doesn't like it." "Why do you do it?" "I thought that's because she'd like it." I said, "Oh, okay. Let me ask you a question. If she came up to you and patted you on the backside, and she came up and rubbed herself up against you, how would you like that?" He said, "I love it. I love it." So what had happened is he had transferred his love language onto her. He had not understood what her love language was and given it to her. He was giving her what he wanted from her. And so this was a revelation to her and to him, because he wanted certain things and she wasn't giving them. And she wanted something other than a pat on the backside that he was not giving her. And so in one meeting, and with a little bit of prayer and a little bit of advice, they went off. A couple of weeks later they called and said, "Pastor, you will never believe. Our marriage has never been the same. It's changed. Thank you." I said, "No, just thank Jesus. That's all you need to thank." But it's amazing what happens when you speak to your wife's, your husband's love language. Don't impose yours on them, what yours is, but find out what theirs is and do that, and then do that an awful lot. A man had been married twice, and both of his wives had died of illness. True story. His first marriage had been pretty okay. It was not bad. It was okay. It was normal. He loved his wife. He was committed to her. He never mistreated her at all. Sadly, she passed away. Eventually, he got remarried, and he decided to treat his second wife differently, like a princess, in his words. So he even called her that. So he told her, he mentioned, as he's sharing his story, he mentioned that the second marriage was far more fulfilling and more intimate and happier than his first. And then he continued and he said, not because his second wife was better than his first. It wasn't for that reason at all. In terms of maturity, in terms of relational availability and demeanor, according to him, they were about the same. They were about the same. And here's what he said. He said, the difference is that I loved my first wife, but I sought to cherish my second. It made all the difference in the world in their relationship. Some people think that the best way to improve their marriage is to change their spouse. But this man field tested a theory that's true and found it to be very effective. Instead of changing your spouse, change your attitude. That's what we've really been talking about here today. Raise the bar, learn to gain intimacy with your spouse through cherishing your spouse. Don't just love your spouse, learn to cherish him, learn to cherish her, and you'll enjoy your marriage like never before. One of the things that I tell married couples, when people I'm counseling who are about to get married, Well, no, I don't do it during. I do it during, but during the wedding ceremony, one of the things I will say at the end of my little advice session, which I've told them already, because I know they're not going to listen during the service. They're looking at each other, enjoying the moment. It's really for other married couples who are in the audience. But I always tell them, may this be the least happiest day of your marriage. May your wedding day be the least happiest day of your marriage. You know where I'm coming from, right? You know exactly what I'm saying. And my prayer for you is that your wedding day would be the least happiest day of your marriage. The best is yet to come for each one of us. And yes, it requires a little work, requires some prayer, requires coming together. But you can't help it. When you look in your spouse's eye, you got to cherish her. You got to cherish him, right? Yeah, it's a two-way street. So God bless you in that. And I don't know if you had any final last word at all. Are you fine? Okay. Oh yeah. So we do have a handout for you. There are a couple of things. And what we'll do? Can we do it this way? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Do this one. We've got two handouts for each of you. One is the 10 cherishes, one for husbands, one for wives. You can get one each. There's also a true love test that we're going to give you. We're not going to do it now. Do it when you get home. But it's a true love test, and it's based on 1 Corinthians 13. It's a yes or no, based on different questions. Answer the questions yourself, and then have your spouse answer the same question. So, for example, and you'll see it as it's coming around. For example, it will ask, the first question will be, I am patient to my wife. I'm patient with my wife, rather. And then the corresponding question for the wife to answer is, my husband is patient with me. It'll be a yes or no. And then you can reverse it. Do it on the other partner does it. The husband does his, have the wife answer his, and then she does hers and have the husband answer hers. Hope that makes sense. But it's a fun little thing. You'll be surprised. You probably won't be surprised that your answers will differ. You might think you are the most patient guy in the world, and your wife may respond to that question with, she put a circle in between the yes and the no. Sometimes not. But this is a conversation starter, or at least a basis for some type of discussion you can have. And you can ask the question. Don't be offended. That's where problems can begin. We get easily offended. But you can ask the question, how am I not patient with you, honey? How am I not patient with you? And then let her share with you, well, there are several times where this and that happens, and you seem to, in this area, you seem to blow up the most in this particular area. That's a good conversation to have. We all have blinders, and we don't always see things about ourselves that we need to see. And God gave us our spouses to help us to some extent with that. So that's one of the things you're getting. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the other thing you're getting is these 10 and the bonus, the 11 points on how to cherish your husband, how to cherish your spouse. Any questions for Jenny and I? I mean, we've there's so much more to talk about. So many wonderful things we could chat about, but we wanted to give you some basic tools and encourage you to not just love your spouse, but to cherish them. Any questions at all at this point? Or comments? Tell us what works for you, or what doesn't work. Amun. Yeah. Here, I'm going to bring the microphone. Hold on a sec, brother. There you go.
As Adventists, obviously, we don't believe in evolution, but I read this book. I think it was Failure of Nerve. He was a Jewish rabbi who believes in evolution. And that book was actually recommended by Pastor Ron Kelly. And I read that book, and in that book he says, reptiles are not playful, right? But like dogs are playful. Like if you try to, mammals, right? Mammals are playful. So, and I was joking with my wife one time, I joked with her, and she was not in a good mood that day. I asked her, "Are you a reptilian or a mammal?" I shouldn't have said that. No. But we laugh about those things now, you know. But I think that's the principle. Is like, dogs are playful. I mean, if you look at their brain, right, they have much more developed brain. Like the reptiles have like amygdala, which is like fear-centered. But our human brain, mammal's brain, is more reasoning, And I think we are supposed to be playful, so that's one thing I wanted to comment on.
Yeah, good. Very good. We must be playful a little bit. I'm going to leave this with you.
I just wanted to thank you, Pastor and Jenny, for this presentation. And I really like the fact that it's now based off a bunch of studies and stuff. And it's really down to earth and it's really simple. And I just want to share with everyone the story told about the guy with the garage, with his wife in the garage. That actually happened to us. But it was not the garage. My truck was parked when we lived in Newport News, my truck was parked at the end of the driveway. And Mona has just left home to go away. And she was backing out of the driveway and I heard the crunch. And I went outside and she's sitting in the car and she's looking at me and I did exactly what you said. I said, honey, you did not look in the rearview mirror. Yes, Roy, I looked in the rearview. Honey, had you looked in the rearview mirror, you'd have seen the car. You'd have seen the truck and you have not run into the truck. But anyway, I used the tail light was busted out, and I used the opportunity, instead of getting upset with my wife, I used the opportunity to buy 2 brand new LED tail lights. So it worked out.
I love it. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, it's our go-to, the well-worn lecture.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Pastor, and also Ms. Jennifer Buttery, for the presentation. It was very applicable to life circumstances, and I think, marriage is a journey, and sometimes, we get it right, and sometimes we need to make some adjustments. And like they always say, the great ones in life, they always make adjustments. Yeah. And for me, I would say that marriage is important to me because, when I was a kid, just to go straight to the point, one time I was a medical student, and I always used to have this question. When I was in church, I would always have this question: how will my wife look like, and how will my children look like? And one day, that question, I was just sitting with my wife, and we're playing at home with the kids. And suddenly, I just realized that, wow, sometimes our deepest thoughts, God answers those, in His time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you for the seminar. The second thing also is that, as we are going through the marriage process, we think we are actually perfect than we are. And it's just that sometimes we all need a little bit of help. I thought I was a good husband. I thought I was a great husband, matter of fact. But then a friend of us recommended that we read this book by Nancy Van Pelt. It's called Highly Effective Marriages. And when I read about the book, me and my wife actually read it together. And that's what I would highly recommend. And when we were reading through the book, his needs, her needs, and we were surprised that, all these years we thought we had it figured out, And the interesting thing is, life is always about learning. Yeah. And I just hope that we continue to learn so that we can be happier. Because I think heaven is definitely going to be the best place. But until we get there, I think marriage is probably going to be the second happiest place for us. Yeah, so thank you.
Amen. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Kofi. Yeah, we're a work in process. Our marriages are, and the neat thing about lifelong commitments and relationships, and I tell Jenny this too, and I look at her and I think about her and I pray for her, of course, but I think. I told you earlier, I think I'm just so blessed to have my wife, but I see in Jenny, I know her far more than I knew her when we first got married, and I like her even more. I liked her then, but I like her a whole lot more, even more today. And so this journey is it can be a blessing to yourself, to your home, and it's, we're no one's perfect. We're figuring this thing out by God's grace. Bible principles, experience, counsel from others. I'm encouraged today by seeing men in here because, I am because my first thoughts about getting any help for marriage, my first thoughts are, why do I need help? Why do I need assistance? I got this figured out. That obviously has changed a whole lot from when I used to think that, but but it's encouraging to me to see the men in here. We can all learn from each other and grow together, and we feel very humbled to be able to share today. We haven't got it all figured out. We're still figuring things out, but we're willing to figure it out together and with God's help. So, and that's the key. That's very important. Any other comments, questions? Do you have a hand over here?
I come to the understanding today that nothing happened before time. I've been in this church 7 years, and I always talk about family life, that it's good to have a family life ministry in the church. And I just want to commend the family life ministry for having
Amen.
this event this evening with Pastor and his lovely wife for leading out so good. As you said, in life, we all have our differences. Sometimes the way I look at things, that person don't look at. My wife may not look at things. Let's personalize it. My wife may not look at the way I look at things. As you say, down in the 50s, things were different. But we have to all learn to compromise, because that's the only way we can get this thing work and understand each other. I love to play. My wife don't love to play. It's not easy to walk away, but I have to just, get in my shoes and go to make life happy. So that's all about life.
Sure.
But this is what we need when we can come together and discuss as a family, I can learn from your strength. You can, my weakness may just be a testimony for you in the future. You never know. But I just want to say thank you all, the Family Life Committee.
Absolutely.
And thank you guys for the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Gregory. Yeah, and again, thank you, Dwayne or Aletha, for making the effort and doing this today. It's wonderful. I have a thought. We did this when we were at Sacramento Central. When we had Family Life Ministry Days or Family Life Days, we also did it in such a way that we can invite the community. And so we would have, in a bigger church, more opportunity, more rooms and so on. But we had about 4 or 5 different sessions. So people could rotate to maybe 3 of them in an afternoon. So one on marriage, one on parenting, one for singles, one on, we'd do a variety of different things. It'd be a special one on music or on internet safety and stuff like that. And they're happy. And then what else would we do? Anyway, it's a variety of different things, and folk had a choice. They could rotate. So it might be neat. We could maybe do something like that as a church next time. Have a couple of different. Don't want to add pressure. I'll be all in for it. Help you out. But we could maybe have a couple of different sessions and rotate, parenting and singles and or dating. Premarital stuff. So different wonderful options. But this is excellent. The fabric of society is family. The health of the church resides in the health of the family. And if our families are not well in our church isn't going to be well. And then we will lose our effectiveness in the community. So I love what you guys have planned here today. Thank you so much. Any last questions, comments before we wrap up? Everyone's ready to roll. I could nearly tell. All right. Can we stand together for prayer? Is that okay?
Our Father in heaven, thank you for this time that we can come together and speak about a topic that at times is pushed aside, but it is very important. It's up there right alongside of the Sabbath. And the devil is going to do all he can to tear it down. And I pray that he'll give us the grace to know how to build up our marriages so that one day that we can spend eternity with you and see those who we've helped, the families who have been brought up in good homes, and give you the glory for helping us in our marriages. It is the aspect that keeps the world in good condition, and so unfortunately, so many families are being torn apart in this day and age. And I pray that you will help us and continue to be our guide. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful Sabbath afternoon. God bless you. Were there enough handouts? There are more people here than I thought. Okay, good.